Update. Thinking about leaving my wife and child. Thoughts? Original post. I-32 male will be real. If it hadn't been for my son, I would have ended the marriage already. Things weren't good back then between us. Wife and I are going to marriage counseling because I confessed to her I was falling out of love and wasn't happy in the marriage anymore, so she insisted we try to work out our problems. We did try it. Open up, have communication better, try to be more affectionate with each other and connect more as a couple. More romantic date nights and spontaneous trips. Basically to find that spark again. None of it worked and I was ready to call it quits after a year, until we found out she was pregnant. Now, for me, I always thought we were set on never ever having kids. That was something mentioned when we were first dating, and I was pretty relieved she felt the same way about not wanting kids. To me, I just never liked them. Not what I wanted for my life at all. But once we found out, she wanted to keep the baby. It was a whole other conflict. I didn't want to be a father, but she wanted him. For a while, I kept bringing up the options of termination or maybe adopting, but in the end, that didn't go anywhere. Then I thought, okay, well, parents split up all the time even with kids involved. However, that just gave me a lot of backlash from everyone about what a Nahal I am, because who even thinks about leaving their pregnant wife? I feel my biggest mistake was letting myself believe that maybe with a family we can make it work. Being there for her and the baby, that I just get that love for them, it'll work out along with the therapy we had done. Now I feel even more miserable. We have family time, date nights when we manage to get a sitter, free time to ourselves every other weekend if possible. I just hate it all. The only time I'm actually content is when I'm not home or get to have a little personal time. Everything going on at home makes me wish I left before there was even a chance of her getting pregnant. But I felt bad not trying to get some help first before throwing in a towel in our marriage. Now there's a baby involved, and it's 1,000 times more complicated. I don't feel any closer to my wife or my son, who's about 13 months now. It's not his fault, I get it, he's a baby. Right now it's been a lot easier to manage and thought by now I might feel closer to him. Sadly, I don't. Part of me just wants to pack my stuff and leave already. That part makes me feel horrible because I'm his father and wouldn't feel right to leave him without one. Just don't know if I can be what they need me to be anymore. Is there really any way to stop feeling this way? At this point, it's like I want to walk out and never look back. But is that really the best thing? Edit. For those curious, we did not have unprotected action. Never wanted to end up in the scenarios where rubbers were always used and she said she was on birth control. That's how it always was in the years we've been together. It's been brought to my attention that I should probably mention this detail for better advice. I just didn't want to include it before because it was done in the past and my son is already here. But yes, I talked to my wife if this was done deliberately, the pregnancy I mean, and she never denied she had anything to do with tampering. It's still on me for being intimate with her regardless, but she did have something to do with it. Like I said though, I didn't want to focus on that because my son is here anyways, and nothing could be done about it now. Now for the top advice before reading the update. You should leave. Your marriage should have ended years ago, and staying in a bad relationship just because of a baby is never healthy. Your wife deserves someone who will love her. Your son deserves growing up in a home where he is loved and wanted by all the adults in it. And no matter how much you try to fake it, kids can sense when their presence isn't really wanted. And you deserve a partner whom you do love and wanted to be with. None of you can get those things until you firmly admit once and for all that it isn't working for you and never will and put an end to it. You can still be his father without living there, and a bit of distance might even improve your relationship with him because you would be happier with your life in general once divorced, and because it would allow you to spend time with him away from his mom, who you freely admit you haven't wanted to be with for years. Tell your wife it's over. If she wants to try counseling again, agree to going. But warn her that you will be informing the counselor up front that the marriage is over, and you're only there to help your wife come to terms with that fact. Move your stuff out, and file for divorce and at least visitation with your son. This is sound advice, thank you. I agree I should have walked out a long time ago before a kid was even in the mix. It was hard. Still is. Hope leaving the marriage does improve what I have with my son. The feelings I'm having right now are not what I want to be having years down the road with him, when it becomes more obvious. And get a vasectomy so you don't have to worry about this with any future partners. Get a divorce. I grew up in a house with parents who hated each other. They didn't fight, but they didn't engage with each other either. I also learned at a young age that my father never wanted children. It was a miserable way to grow up. It didn't help any of us kids. I was so grateful when they finally got divorced. Now as an adult, I have a great relationship with my father. It doesn't mean you have to be an absent father or a bad one, but that is your son and you'll have to decide how much of a relationship you want with him. As another poster stated, you may become a better father when you're out of the marriage. Staying helps no one. Did your relationship with your father improve because of the divorce or because you reached adulthood? Since I have heard some parents get along better with their kids once they're older and more mature. A lot of it was because I got older. I think it became easier for him to relate to me more as a teenager and adult than as a small child. He wasn't a terrible father, but he was clearly unhappy and that had a big impact on how he treated us kids. I firmly believe if they had divorced when I was a child, our relationship would have improved sooner. He may have resented us as kids, but it was made worse because he was also in a relationship he hated. It was a cycle. Once that was broken, things got even better. You can separate from her or even divorce her, but you are still legally and morally responsible for your child. The legal requirement is primarily financial. Even if you have your parental rights terminated, that does not lose you your financial obligations, unless you get someone else to adopt your child with her. But morally, you know you have an obligation to the child. Have you considered talking to a therapist about how you might get more attached to your child, whether or not you stay with your wife? Because these are two separate issues. To answer your last question, yes, I started seeing a therapist individually when my son was around 7 months. She's helped people who've suffered from PPD, and I've been talking to her about the things I'm going through with my son. That's something I've been working on for months, because I don't want him to feel that I resent him as he gets older. And now for the update. I almost forgot that I had posted this, but thought I should add an update after all the help. Things have been tough, but getting easier day by day. I left my wife, soon to be ex. It was rough. Needed to happen though. If I wanted things to improve for my son's sake, I couldn't let myself continue to be stuck in this marriage I wanted out of already. For those who suggested this way and why, you were right. It's helped a lot. Not so much the first few weeks. It was so new, and I didn't have a place on my own. For about a month, I stayed with family until I found a place for myself and where my son can also stay. My soon-to-be ex obviously didn't take this well. She's brought some family members on her side for abandoning my family. But I didn't abandon my son. When I spoke to a lawyer and got the paperwork started, we also got a temporary custody order to make sure I'd still have time with him. It's only 3 days out of the week, but we'll settle custody stuff as we go through the divorce proceedings to get more time with him. Honestly, the time away really has boosted me up in ways I couldn't imagine. When my son is with me now, I feel lighter. Not trapped like I felt back then, and I know in my heart I can't ever not be in his life. No matter how he came to this world or what she did, he's innocent in this. Still seeing the same therapist, and I've been more open about my past to really get to the root of my actual issues in regards to the disconnect I had been feeling with my son. Since some of you really encouraged me to be honest to my therapist about what happened. Feels like there's been lots of improvement, and it makes me so hopeful for the relationship I can have with him in the future. He is still so little, but I know there's time to learn to be the dad he needs me to. Thank you so much to all of you here who took the time to really give me solid, amazing advice. At least I know that this was the best decision to make. And now I get to fully try to bond with my son without any negative feelings about my marriage pulling me back. I'm glad that things are looking up, and that it's improving your relationship with your son. Keep up the hard work and good luck with everything. Not all perfect right now, but it's a start. I haven't felt this hopeful for the future in a long time. It's like a breath of fresh air. Yo, as one of many children with divorced parents, A, good on you for splitting sooner rather than later. B, see if y'all can work out a schedule that's not days of the week but weeks of the month. It's freaking blue, packing up my stuff all the time to get tossed around once or twice a week over some disagreement over custody. I don't take it too hard if your kid has a rough time making that switch. I love my dad, but man was I always in a sour mood when it came to pick me up, just because I had no close friends living nearby. Best of luck to you. I hope you all find happiness. Just to give some hope, OP, when my wife and I split, she did not care for it at all. The court ordered 3 days every other week, but we never stuck to that and I had them often. Maybe she'll be open to that when she cools down. I'd like to believe that. Last thing she said is she'll make sure I can never see him anymore. If those were words of anger or she was serious, well, I don't know, but I'll fight for time. Always communicate through text and voicemails. If you live in a single-party consent state, then record your conversations with her too and give them to your lawyer. Threatening to take away your parental role out of spite is not going to look good for her in court. Luckily we do, and I've managed to bait her twice after I moved to my new apartment and asked to see my son, which she refused unless I came home. It's all in text. You can't argue with the evidence. You made the right choice, Soapy. I'm glad you are now feeling better and bonding with your kid. Keep it up. This is a place I was afraid I'd never manage to get to, but I'm happy that I did. It's not perfect, and there's still issues that need to be worked on further. But the fact that I can actually play with my son and hold him and think, God, I love this kid, it's so much better than where my head was a few months ago. Now for the last story. I, 28 male, have been with my girlfriend, 27 female, for nearly 3 years. She keeps hinting at buying a house at Booking Views, but some things have come to light this past year, and I'm not fully sold on financially tying myself to her. At the start of this year, my girlfriend turned her notifications off on her WhatsApp and Snapchat applications. When I had hovered over her shoulder, I saw that she was messaging someone. Let's call him Harry. After catching her at the right moment, as in just scrolling past a photo of Harry on her Facebook feed, I casually said, "Who is that?" Since she didn't know I knew she was messaging him, it came across as a random question. After I asked her the question, she started reeling off how he was obsessed with her in school and asked her out multiple times over the course of 5 years. Obviously, this didn't sit right with me because Harry's single. And if he was obsessed then, he probably is now. Plus, their conversations clearly aren't PG in my eyes, as it warranted her to turn off notifications on the apps she was talking to him on. To cut this story short, I snooped on her phone and found that she had deleted both chat logs on both apps. But I found something else that worried me. During our dating period, we had visited all different places like York, lakes, and even glamping. So I can say we were pretty obviously exclusive, especially since we deleted our dating apps. However, I found a text messages to her ex of 7 years saying, "What was I supposed to do? You said it was over and you didn't want to sort it, so I've moved on." And another said, "Just unblock me, I want to sort it out." This one was while we were away in New York and obviously having a good time. The worst thing is that, at the time, she mistakenly called me by her ex's name, and I thought nothing of it since she'd been in a relationship with him for over 7 years, the benefit of the doubt and all that. Then on her Facebook Messenger, she had messaged saying, "I can't talk to you as I'm with someone and it's disrespectful towards him." Yet I found more messages after the last Christmas saying Happy Christmas, and I'll speak to you around your birthday. He replied saying how it's stressing him out her messaging him, but she continued anyway. I always found it odd why he had messaged me when we first got together, saying he was going to smash my head in, and messaged her saying that she's his, and that my teeth are getting knocked out. I just put it down to 7 years and that he's an obsessive ex, as they do exist. Back to the issue. I raised it and got a balking for going on her phone, which was fair enough. But after trying to deflect it on me, I finally got to the bottom of it, and she said that she was sorry and all that, and she can't remember why she was saying that at the time, and can only apologize and turned her notifications on again. So I did what I always do, and forgave her but never forgot. Now coming down to looking at houses. I kept sending her houses and she was never replying, until I vocally told her I'd sent them. Turns out her Snapchat and WhatsApp notifications are off again, and I mentioned it. She said there's a group chat she's part of on WhatsApp that gets spammed, so I told her how to mute it and expressed how it's vital. She looks and sees my messages on time for us to buy a house, which remembers her idea. She wants to do this. Anyways, I tested out a week later and she still got the notifications off. Now, I know I said let it go, but now she's turned her notifications off again. It just brings it all back. And honestly, I have this gut feeling that she's going to screw me over, and I'll be financially tied to her if I get a joint mortgage. We also have a dog, which complicates things further. You see, from my point of view, I had an obsessive ex. Each time she messaged me, I told my girlfriend what she said and when she said it. I made it clear to my ex multiple times I didn't want anything to do with her yet. My current girlfriend was sending happy birthday and happy Christmas messages to the ex that said he would smash my head in, and repeatedly told her that she was his, instead of just telling him how it is and blocked. I know the messages were from nearly 3 years ago, and I know the other messages were just happy birthday and happy Christmas last year, but it's also the stuff with Harry, which I never mentioned, but I gathered it was something she shouldn't have done, since she made a point of deleting the conversations. At the start of the relationship, I set a boundary which was, I just want to be with a person that hasn't disrespected me in any way, shape, or form, and that included messaging exes or other lads in a way that would be disrespectful towards me. It'd make me look like a fool. Regardless of how I've left it, and I've left it 12 months, I just feel like something eventually is going to happen, and I just can't shake the gut feeling she had an emotional affair with Harry behind my back. Trust your gut, man. Always. It's usually right. I think all of your concerns are valid, and it doesn't seem like she's trying to remove them from her life either. The fact that he threatened you and she sends him Christmas messages and birthday messages is enough BS for me to call it quits. And honestly, even if you're wrong, you clearly don't trust her. You shouldn't be in a relationship with someone you don't trust, much less buy a house with them. Accountant here. Don't buy a house with someone you're not married to. That is all. Yeah, this. I bought a house with my boyfriend/best friend of literal decades, and I'm still in the process of trying to disentangle, 4 years after our breakup. Are you me? It's such a pain. I've told my current significant other I really don't care about marriage and the romantic BS behind it, but we have to be married for legal reasons when we buy a property and build, because I'm not going through this again. You're acting shady. Yeah, I know, I'll stop. Some weeks. You're still acting shady. Yeah, I know, I'll stop. Some more weeks. You're acting shady. Yeah, I know, I'll stop. Many more weeks? Why? No kidding. It wants to tie himself to her financially? Makes me wonder if she wants to buy a house, so when she leaves him, she'll get half of the proceeds of the sale or he'll have to buy her out. Either way, she'll walk away with a nice chunk of change.